Alright, so I've got both knocks done. Now I'm going to string this bow up. Now if you need to find the string length, it's going to vary depending on how you make this bow, and if certain things are slightly different, the string length will be a little different. So to figure out the string length, what you want to do is measure from back here, across the knock, over the handle, across the other recurve, and to the base of the knock. Take that measurement and subtract about 4 inches. 5 inches if you want a higher brace height. So this is at about, I'd say about 5 or 6 inches. And when I string it up, I get an 8-inch brace height. So an 8-inch brace height will actually be a little more forgiving on different types of arrows. Here you can see the bow. So now, what I'm going to need to do is take the string off, and then I'm going to figure out where I need to make my cuts to turn this into a 3-piece takedown. So let's go do that. To break this bow up into a 3-piece takedown, first thing you need to do is measure from tip to tip. This is measuring straight across, because we're breaking this up on physical length rather than the actual knock-to-knock length of this bow. So once you found that, for this particular bow, that's 47 inches. It may be different for your bow depending on how you did your recurves and so on. So the basic formula I'm using is these end pieces are going to be, the length of these end pieces are going to be the total length minus 2 divided by 3. So for this bow, that's 47, so minus 2, that makes it 45. Divide that by 3, and that's 15. So what I've done is I've measured 15 inches from each end, and that gives me these two sections are 15 inches long, and this center section is 17 inches long. So this is the main center section. Now what we're going to be doing is cutting right at those marks, and then we'll be putting this all back together again, hopefully. So let's go do that. Okay, so it's time to cut. What I did was I just made a little mark. This is just to indicate that this is the one limb and this is the other limb, so that I don't mix the pieces up. So I'm just going to go along where I marked my line. You can use a saw for this. I'm just using a PVC cutter. And one thing I like to do is I like to actually cut at a very slight angle. That way when you drive the pieces together, they sort of auto-align themselves. Don't do it too much, or the limbs will come out crooked when you try to put them together. But just a little bit, and it'll keep the limbs from actually twisting in the sleeves when you're putting it together, and it'll help it index better, and everything will line up a little bit better. So you don't want to make it super crooked, but you want to go a little off from being perfectly straight. So just go ahead and cut that limb. So here's the first limb. Now for the other side. So now I've got my 3 bow pieces here. Now they're ready for the next step. Alright, you're going to need to cut 2 1-inch Schedule 40 pipes, 4 inches long. And I also went ahead and just gently rounded the corners with, or rounded the edge with a file. That way it's nice and smooth, but it still has a nice crisp edge to it. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start putting this bow back together. So what you need to do first is take your piece here, and I'm putting it in my trough so I can heat it up. Next you want to get your limb and your handle and figure out, okay, these two pieces go together. So you want to set them aside. And I've gone ahead and put some some hot melt glue on my limb because the limb is going to get glued into the connector. So I've got this ready and waiting and ready to go. So once this is heated up, I'm going to heat the glue up, press this over about halfway, and then while this is still hot, I need to press it over the handle about halfway, and then let it cool. So I'm going to do that. First thing I'm going to do is heat this up. Once this is ready, I'm just going to put it together.